this week, our plan, right, for this week is like I said last week, we'll be focusing mostly on writing. So in class, if you have questions about the grammar, as always, tell me, ask the questions about grammar. But I won't be explicitly teaching it unless you have questions. Okay, so these are the 5 things we're going to be talking about. We'll try and finish this up today. And then we're going to do descriptive paragraphs and descriptive essays. So in our book, it has an entire chapter about just paragraphs, which we've done a lot of, right? And it goes through descriptive paragraphs and definition paragraphs and classification paragraphs and cause and effect and all these different paragraph types. And then the next chapters are description essays and cause and effect essays and classification essays. So the essay types match the paragraph types. Instead of separating them like that, we'll go through the description paragraph and then the description essay. And then the classification paragraph and then the classification essay. And the cause and effect paragraph and the cause and effect essay, right? We'll keep it themed in that structure, okay? So we've been following the book really closely, and we still will, but we're going to jump around a little bit, okay? We're going to move it just a little bit. Okay? So for this week, I'm focusing specifically and almost exclusively on descriptive. How can we be descriptive in our paragraphs and our essays? What's the structure? What's the format? What's the framework for those? Okay? So for today specifically, we'll be in Unit 2, right? We're going to finish up the purpose, audience, clarity, then talk about unit and coherence, and we'll do a little bit of work on building better sentences, building better vocabulary, and then the collocation things, okay? And that might take up our whole day. I hope not, but we'll try. We'll try and get through it as quick as we can. Okay, any questions? Good? Awesome. Okay, so here we go. What is purpose? In our writing, right? Why is purpose involved? What does it mean?
What the author want to say. What the author want to write.
Okay, good. What else?
Why?
Why? Yeah.
Why? Yeah, it's kind of, right? But it's this why. Why was this written? Because, and the specific choice here is, are they informing me? Is this just information? Is this persuasion? Are they trying to change my mind and make me think in a different way? Or, so you got information and you've got persuasion, and then the third main one is entertainment. Harry Potter, right? It's just fun. The author wrote it to be fun, right? To be entertaining and happy. Right?
Or description?
Description, you'll do descriptions inside of each one of those, right? So a description would probably fit inside of the informative one, but you could be descriptive inside of any of them, actually. Inside of any of those. Okay, then audience. What's audience?
Reader.
The reader, right? So when I'm the writer, because this is the writing class, how do we focus on our reader? How do we modify our writing for our readers? What do we do? Student, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm the teacher, I'm writing to my students, okay? That's one audience. Mm-hmm. Let's say that I am the student and I'm writing to my teacher. Does that change how I write?
Yes.
Yes, it does, right? Or if I am me and I'm writing to my mother, does that change how I write?
Yes.
Yes. If I am me writing to Father Tom, does that change my writing again, right? That's the idea of audience when we change things. And what was the big tip that we talked about? The one thing for academic writing, what is the audience that we almost always need to have in academic writing? Third person. Sometimes first person is kind of okay. Second person, sort of a little bit. Third person, yes, 95% of the time, everything you write is going to be in that third person. Okay? And you just got to get used to that now, because you will do that forever throughout all of academics that you'll be doing. Okay? All right. So that's audience. And then clarity, we talked a little about, what is the clarity part?
Clearly.
Clearly, very good, right? Clearly. Clearly what? What does that mean? Grammar. Right, exactly. We talked about the grammar, we talked about pronouns, right? Mm-hmm. Many people are in the room. It are happy.
Relative.
Where's the problem?
It and
It. What should it be?
they.
They, exactly, because we're not talking about the room, we're talking about the people, right? Make sure that those things line up. And I mean, anyway, so you guys get that, that's easy enough. Then clarity, which had one, oh no, that's the grammar book. Okay, so here's the great writing. Unit, clarity. Okay, so we worked through these exercises. We did that paragraph, clarity paragraph. We're skipping that. We did that. Pronoun reference. This is our last thing we worked on, right? We did these edits. Okay, we did this one too, right? No, Chicago?
No,
we
we
did not do
didn't.
this one,
No.
right? Okay, so this is, I wanted to do, is it this one? Hold on, let me check real quick. Yeah, it's just this last thing and then I want to move on to unity. So it's kind of marked it for us. So we'll do this as a class very quickly, just kind of warm up and remember clarity. The following comparison paragraph, look, it's a type of paragraph, contains 6 errors with pronoun reference. Improve the clarity of the sentences by changing the boxed words to words or phrases that are more specific, right? More accurate, more clear. Oh, sorry, this is page 52. Page 52. Okay, here we go. The weather in Chicago and Miami. Okay, so we see 2 things right away and we go, okay, comparison, 2 different things we're talking about, Chicago and Miami. So, I'm going to give you guys like a minute, read this paragraph on your own, and then we'll talk about it for a second. Okay, so just read it. Ready, set, go. Okay, so let's look at this for a second. We're talking about Chicago and Miami. You don't need to read the whole thing, you guys just did. So what's wrong right here?
Name of the city.
This would check doesn't be
Yeah, right.
Chicago.
This it refers probably to weather or Chicago.
Chicago.
But in the understanding, you know, that's not right.
It's
What is it
not here.
referring to? What should be here? Put it up.
Chicago.
Miami. It should be Miami. How do I know that? It says, Chicagoans enjoy summer, fall, winter, and spring weather. In contrast,
Yeah.
what in contrast? Well, we're talking about Miami, so it's got to be Miami.
Yes.
That's the only in contrast. Okay? So then down here we have another one. Another major difference in the weather between our 2 cities is that worst weather occurs in the winter. It.
It is.
Which one?
Is.
Chicago.
Chicago.
And Miami.
There.
No, Chicago. She's right, but there's one more thing to add on to the Chicago. Chicago.
Chicago's.
Chicago.
Horses.
Possessive, right?
Yes.
Exactly. It's a possessive thing. So Chicago's weather. Oh, Chicago's worst weather. Sorry, occurs in the winter. Okay, so that's how that works. It talks about Miami here. Another major difference is between the 2 cities is that this one's on average, high temperature does this, unlike Chicago. Okay, so just from those 2 words, what do we know that we're talking about?
Unlike Chicago, it's been
Compare.
Comparing. And what are we comparing? Chicago and
Miami.
Miami, right? So this sentence is going to talk about
Miami.
Miami, right? We know with 2 words, we know we're talking about Miami. It's already shifted. Unlike Chicago, the problem in Miami, right, is, okay? The daytime temperature reaches this much. Finally, they worry about different weather problems. They whom?
inherited. The people in
Miami.
Yeah.
Miami.
Okay,
The
so we have they.
Miami.
people.
Well, but this is wrong, so we'll ignore that, right? The people,
In Miami.
more specific, which people?
Miami.
Finally, they worry about different
The
weather
people in
problems.
both
In both cities, right? The people in both cities. So there's one way, and the word you're looking for is inhabitants, right? Inheritance is a different word. It's a good word, but it's a different word, okay? Inhabitants, right? Finally, the inhabitants of both cities, right? Big old explanation, worry about different weather problems. Okay, perfect. Who else could be a they?
People.
People worry about different weather problems. Okay.
Resident.
Hmm?
Resident.
That's not a word. I know what you're saying.
City. Maybe city.
City
resident.
City residents. There we go. Okay, that's another way of saying it. How about a different group of people?
Focus.
Yes, but who does the forecast? It's actually a really big word. I'm just trying to play with
Citizen.
words. What?
Citizen.
No, yes, but that's not what she was going for.
Make forecast.
The people who make the forecast, what are they called? Oh, I hope I can spell this word.
Forecast man.
Forecast man. The weather guy. Yeah, exactly, right? Weatherman or woman. There's a more technical term that we use for this, and it's meteorologist. Meteorologist. Okay? This is the scientific discipline of studying weather and predicting weather and guessing that, those kinds of things. This is the German structure. This is the Latin structure. Meteorologist and a weatherman, right? Weatherman, weatherwoman, weather person, whatever. Okay, so when we try and plug something like that in here, we would go, finally, meteorologists, plural, meteorologists worry about different weather problems. These are the people who care about weather, right? Or meteorologists in both cities worry about different problems, right? There's different ways we can talk about it. Make sense?
Yes.
Which one is the right one to put in here? Do we say citizens of the city, inhabitants of the city, or do we say meteorologists?
Meteorologist.
They're both right. That was the point of the question, right? So, yes. What determines which one gets to be right or wrong? Okay, based on, yeah, so this is kind of a complex idea, so I gotta work with it a little bit, but I talk about this a lot, which is why I'm saying this. Within the sentences that we have right here, within this paragraph, both are correct. You could put this one in, and it's right, or you could put in meteorologists, and it's right, you could put in inhabitants of the city, and it's right as well, okay? Grammatically, everything's okay. But, what if I meant to say meteorologist, but I said instead inhabitants? Then it's wrong. Not because the word's wrong, but because what I said is different from what I meant to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? It probably seems obvious on some ways, but this is an important concept that I like to talk about a lot. What makes the difference between whether or not often this word, do I choose this word or do I choose this word? Well, what do you want to say? What's true? What do you feel? What are you trying to express? Because once you figure out that, then this one's right. They're both equal grammatically, but there's a reality that you want to say, a meaning that you want to say, and that makes this one right and that one wrong. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about the citizens, then the citizen has to be the word here because that's what we want to say. But if we're talking about meteorologists, then meteorologist is the right word here because that's the word we have to say. That's what we want to share. Make sense? It might be a little bit too complex. I don't know, but I think it's important. So next one. While Chicagoans' biggest weather is a blizzard, the biggest weather problem for
Miami.
Miami is a hurricane. Actually, that's okay. But this one here is actually talking about the people, right? So we have a reference of people here. Miamians, yeah.
Miamians.
People of Miami. I'm not sure if Miamians is a word. But yes, exactly. Now, since this is referring to people, now we know, okay, it's people. Now we can come back here and go, okay, that was probably people up here too. Now we have a connection. Okay, good. In the end,
We
Good.
learn.
Learned that each of our hometowns has unique weather. Now they said that's an error, right? So why is that an error? Because it kind of works, right?
Not a leader.
In the end, we learned that each of our hometowns has unique weather. Do we have to change that? Because that sounds
I
fine to
think
me. Yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Improve the clarity of the sentences by changing the box words to phrases. Okay. That are more specific. Ah, okay. So now I know what I want to do. So this is grammatically correct, right? There's nothing wrong here. Some of these actually have grammatical problems, right? But this one is grammatically fine. But we're not talking just about grammar. We're talking about the clarity. Remember we spent a chunk of time talking about adjectives?
Yeah.
The house is old. It's correct. The antique home was very beautiful. Now it's more complex. It's more specific. So how could we change this to
Both
be
of us.
more better? Good. What else?
My cousin and I.
That one. That's the one I want. Right now I'm really specific. My cousin and I. And now we have something we're really specific as to who is we? Who are we, right? Who are the people? Good. Okay, so that's the idea of clarity. There's two main pieces, right? There's the grammar structure. Is my grammar right? Right? Am I using the right verbs? Am I using the right prepositions? My pronoun references, are those correct? The clarity, the grammar piece. Then there's the description piece, the adjectives, the adverbs. He ran. Perfectly correct. He ran fast. He quickly ran. He quickly ran. No, he excitedly ran. Right? And every word that you add in there makes you go, oh, a little bit different, right? A different picture shows up in your mind. That's part of clarity. Okay, so here we go. We're going to skip this little spot. Come on, there we go. And we're doing on time. Good, okay. Moving on to unity, right? What is unity? Unity is actually very simple. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this, and because we've also talked about it a little bit already. Unity, the idea of unity is everything in one paragraph talks about one thing. And we talk about unrelated sentences, right? Removing the unrelated sentences, that's what this is. So here's a paragraph right here. Read through this. I'll give you about maybe 2 minutes to read this. Find the unrelated sentence, or the sentence that doesn't belong. Okay. So, simple question. Which one doesn't fit? Which one doesn't belong?
Number
4, right? Exactly. Why?
It is about the ones short belongs.
So, again, what? What do you say?
Because this is the steps for clean a room.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
But number 4, this is mentioned to wash clothes. Long right is not.
Exactly. It's like it's right. We're talking washing clothes, right? These are connected, but they're connected to each other,
Yes.
but not to this, right? Which is the topic sentence. This is what we need to connect to, right? Here's our idea. This one doesn't really fit. It's about clothes, about cleaning, it's about washing, all that kind of stuff. Great. But we're supposed to be about simple steps or simple guidelines, right? This is not a guideline. Delete. Get rid of it. Don't even write it in the first place. Don't even put it in there, right? Save your time. That's the idea of unity. Making sure, okay, I'm talking about steps. I'm talking about friendship. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about houses. I'm talking about clothes. I'm talking about scripture. I'm talking about whatever. Don't wander off to talk about other things. Don't make commentary. Stay focused on one piece. That's the whole idea of unity right there. There's a couple other paragraphs that are that same thing. Here was, let's see, where's this last one? There's that one. That's all these questions right here are what we just talked about, so we're going to skip that. Like I said, this is pretty easy. Movie types, which is the next one. This is on page 55. Same kind of a thing. Which ones? Oh, there's 2 of them here, and there's 7 sentences, right? 2 of these sentences don't belong. Okay? What are they? Take about 2 minutes to read this, and then tell me what are these 2 words that don't fit, or 2 sentences that don't fit. Okay, so let's look at these. There's two sentences. This paragraph's a little bit longer. Oh, whoops, I went too far. There we go. One of them is here. Which one does not fit?
Number 5.
Number 5. I love this type of movie when I was young. Grammatically perfect, kind of fun, very nice. No, it doesn't fit. It just doesn't make any sense. Why is this here? Delete. Get rid of it. Okay, and down here we got another one. What's the one that's here? Which one doesn't fit?
Number
10. 10. The word hybrid is also used to describe a type of car. True. It's true. My cousin drives a hybrid car. Grammatically perfect. Correct definition. Everything's right about this, except it doesn't match anything in the paragraph, right? Grammatically fantastic. All of the grammar, the wonderful vocabulary, everything's perfect, except it doesn't fit the paragraph, so it doesn't belong. Take it out. Don't put it in there. When I was writing my master's thesis, which is this giant document, I had to do this kind of thing, but with entire paragraphs. Like, okay, write all these, write in an entire paragraph and format it and grammar and everything's beautiful and awesome, vocabulary. I'm like, darn it, I don't need that. And delete the whole thing. It spent like an hour and a half just to delete it because it didn't fit. When I thought at the beginning, I was like, okay, this fits, this goes here, okay, that's right, write this paragraph. And I'm done, step away for a few minutes, right, a couple of days, come back and look at it. Oh man, this doesn't make sense anymore. Delete it. Okay? Unity. It happens, this is part of writing, right? We delete things and edit things, that's part of how it works, even for native speakers. Okay, this is just life, this is how these work. Okay, and that's it. That's the whole thing of unity. Get rid of the things that are not relevant. Okay, so coherence, let's see if we can finish this before our break here. Coherence is a little bit more complicated, but not much. And the core idea of coherence is logic. When you're explaining things, are you following some kind of an order that makes sense? First, second, third, fourth, fifth. She woke up in the morning, she had breakfast, she had lunch, she had dinner, she went to bed at night. Okay? Those follow orders, right? They make sense. If I went, she woke up in the morning, she had lunch, she had dinner, she had breakfast, then she went to bed. It's incoherent, right? So coherence is the base word. If I say incoherent, that means there's something logically wrong about it. The sequence, the order, the explanation is somehow doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense, okay? So there's a time order, what do they call it? Logical order, we call it somewhere in here. Sequencing information, right? The structure here. How do we sequence it? What's the order we put things in? Okay, we'll get there in a second. But this idea of the order of the way that things go is important. So the three important features: logical order of some kind, many different logical orders to use, but it has to have some logical order. Repetition of key words is another aspect. If I say my friends, and then I switch to my cousins, and then I switch to my classmates, I'm switching the key words, and I'm like, isn't it friends, friends, friends? Was it classmates, classmates, classmates? Why am I switching between everything? Okay. Transitional words and phrases. What are these? Give me an example of some transitional words. What would those be? What? And, that's a connecting word. Good, right? Transition would be, I'm over here, and I will transition to over here, which is a different place.
Yeah.
What kind of words or phrases do we use to make that shift? However, right? I say this, however, transition, this other thing.
The other side, the other hand.
Hand, good. On this hand, transition. On the other hand, on that right, other ways.
Contrast.
In contrast, in comparison.
Insert.
What?
Insert.
Instead.
Insert.
Instead, right? Good, exactly.
Otherwise.
Otherwise, right? From another perspective, right? These little phrases that we have that make these transitions, right? I'm in this side, go to that side. So coherence requires these kinds of things to go on when we're writing in a paragraph or in a bigger essay. A logical order of some kind, repetition of keywords, don't switch all your vocabulary around because everybody gets confused, and transitional words. This, therefore that, all of these things, thus this result, something. So in conclusion, that's a transitional phrase that we use. Okay. All right. So logical order, very quickly. In your books, this is a paragraph, and this is in the wrong order. Fix it so that it's in the right order. That's the idea of this activity right here, right? Read the sentences, then number them from 1 to 5 to indicate the best order. That's their instructions. Okay. So take 2 minutes. Figure that out. Okay, how does that look? Let's do it this way. What's the first sentence?
D.
D, exactly. Okay, so what's the second sentence?
A.
Good. And then the third
E.
sentence?
E.
E. Good. Fourth?
B.
B. Fifth?
C.
C. Good. See how that, and how were you able to put that together? Because it logically makes sense, right? The time of his day, the way we go through his process, his job. Great. Okay, repetition of key words. So they want us to kind of go back and look at that first one here. So what words are repeated here that make you go, oh, this is connecting to that, this is connecting to that. Okay, so for example, 2 words that are repeated in here, often, right, is his name, right? Michael is repeated twice, okay? We don't change his name to John or something weird like that, right? We keep the name the same. And then with pronouns, right, we keep the pronouns the same. He, his, he, right, his. Keep all of these things the same, and it's repeated that way. And on one side, you're like, well, duh. But on the other side, if you're switching those things, it can get very confusing very quickly. Okay, what else? What's another word that's repeated at least, once? There's
When.
It happens twice. What?
When.
When, right? There we go. We're marking a time point. What else?
Performance.
Performance. That's right. His performance. Twice happens in there, okay? Anything else? And we could probably point out like and stuff like that, but that's not what we're talking about, okay? And there's lots of thes. That's not what we're talking about. Right? One of them that's in there twice, but technically 3, right, depending on how you look at it, is the word magic, right? So he has magic wand.
Oh, yes.
And then, where's the other one? Magic tricks.
Trick.
Magic tricks. And then magician. Magician. So it happens in there 3 times. Magic, magician, right? Those things. That's what we're talking about with repetition of keywords. We're using them, the same word. He doesn't switch from magic to special skills to dazzling, whatever, something, tricks or something like that. It stays with magic, okay? That helps with this coherence. It makes it easier to understand, okay? The last part right here is transitional words and transition phrases. So this is great. This is basically just a list, okay, of words for you guys to look at. And you should use these words for the rest of your lives. This is things we use when we speak, things when we give speeches, when we write, just all the time. Use them all the time, okay? So, for example, we know this one, and, of course, we know that one, right? Next, in addition, a couple others. Some of them are easier. Finally, first, second, third, right? We got that one. Thus, a little bit more technical, but a very good one, okay? At the same time. This, at the same time, that, right? Transition. Without a doubt, before and after, right? On the other hand, for these reasons, this is a great conclusion type of sentence to give, right? For these reasons, here's my conclusion to the paragraph, or to the essay for that matter, okay? These are the kinds of things you kind of just have to memorize, right, in some way, but also, like, look at how they're used. Because these phrases, transitional words and phrases, are very difficult to define in a dictionary, in a thesaurus even. It's hard to define them because they don't have traditional definitions like, clock. I mean, clock is a thing, it's right there. What is this? At the same time? It's hard to give a real clear definition of at the same time. But what you can understand and what you should understand is what is it doing, right? And it's creating a transition from here to there. It's functioning in a particular way. It's doing something. Does that make sense? Right? Okay. So let's take a break for now. This is our ending piece. We finished Unit 2. There's a bunch of other stuff here. We'll do that another time. We will play with some building better sentences, vocabulary, and collocations when we get back, and then hopefully move into a little bit of our paragraphs after that.